Alex Ansary here, November 27th, 2016. Now, for several years, I've been delivering a warning to the American people, specifically a warning to the American women, and even more specifically, American white women. And so I've always kind of felt that something dangerous was coming to our country. And being somewhat of an amateur student of history and knowing how history repeats and having a strong belief or sense of internal understanding that karma is real and that this country has a certain amount of karma coming to it as a result of what its militaries have been doing to the peoples of the world. And by discussing karmic connections, it doesn't mean that I'm wishing it or danger or slavery upon anyone. In the end, I bring this up because I want to help liberate people and let them know that there is some time between now and when these major events are going to kick off. And so this is a time for a lot of people. This is a time for a lot of women in our society, especially younger women and especially younger men. You need to look at all these violent video games and Call of Duty and focus in on killing and genocide. This is very bad energy. This is very bad energy. And when you have enough people that are thinking about death and destruction and genocide and kill them all, that total mass of negative thought patterns eventually creates those circumstances for the people that were spending so much time thinking death, death, death. And so, instead of just freak you all out, I really wanted to start off with an introduction like that. I'm really interpreting this spiritually. And karma has a huge role in this, and you can change it if you wanted to. And I'm here to report to you, and as I've been reporting for years, I do not see the consensus reality within either, regular Americans or the alternative media attempting to heal what's been wronged in Afghanistan and Iraq. Instead, they just voted in a guy who's talking about going after the barbarians. And so instead of there being healing with regards to what's already been done, there are clear signs that it's about to get worse. And so when I see what's happening economically, when I read articles about, more young women turning towards stripping, which is really old news, to pay for college. And then we see the increase in stories about prostitution and college students looking for sugar daddies. And then there's, of course, the things that you don't read about, but the things that you experience. Me being a man of dating age, now 36, but maybe meeting women online for the first time, I guess, in my early 20s or so, right around that time frame, mostly in my mid 20s, and seeing how distorted things were then and how crazy things got between 2005 and 2011. And I mean just in terms of just trying to meet someone, and have a decent time and get together and not have it be about this race to go from person to person to person like this is some sport, like this is some sort of sexual solitaire, to where you give yourself points for how many people you can go through in a month. But seeing that we have become that type of society, and how many men and their value has been degraded through the shedding of jobs, and of course some men going their own way and opting out from chasing the material things of this day and age, and of course some men becoming philosophers and looking at things very differently. I meet the description of a number of things combined into one. And I see how they have socially engineered for many, many years for women to look at men a certain way and to be more mystified by the monetary and material aspect of this world than genuine spiritual growth. Doesn't work on all people, all men or women, all the time. It works on the masses of them, the social engineering, the propaganda. And I'm telling you that something's been working our society over for a long, long time before the talks of World War III that would actually result in the breakup of the family. There's a number of wheels that I'm communicating to you that have been in motion for multiple decades that have brought us to where we are now. And here's where we are now. And here's where a lot of my warnings from the past and old shows echoed. And I will talk about the gender warfare. Places like Portland, Oregon being the best example to where, that sense of love and brotherly sister love and trust, it's like something now from an alien planet. It does not exist. And with tribalism, you see aspects of it where it exists, where people all look the same, or they're of the same group, or hive mind. Sometimes you see multiculturalism, different racial groups, rather, would be a better way. Multiracial groups, but they all may be like in the same, Bernie Sanders or whatever. Like we look at Portland, Oregon, you may see different racial groups protesting, but you see really a similarity in the stupidity in some of their actions. And so, someone could come to those people, with a whole different way of looking at things and be shunned from their society. And so this isn't really about just racial. It's about independent thinkers and people that really want to help people and deliver a warning being shunned from many groups on the left and right, anarchists, because a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. And I know what that's like. So I've been through this for multiple years, and I've seen how people have snapped in response to what I'm trying to warn them about. Snapped at me. And I've mentioned this many times, and we'll get back on subject. When that woman said to me in 2010, "We don't need you, we women, for you to warn us or protect us. It's you who really wants to kidnap and hurt and round up all the women. It's you. That's like your fantasy. We don't need you to warn us." And then for years, I was really affected by one woman's words. But I do believe in being honest with oneself, even if it hurts. And the reality is, the words that she shared, that nonsense that she spouted out like a snake, I believe that other women share her view of me in that way. And in a distorted new age, maybe less today, but certainly back when I was in Portland, women would hear me warn them about the future of Portland, and it's like, this guy wants this to happen, or this guy's fear-mongering, or this guy's, who knows what all negative thoughts were thought about me. But I'm here to tell you and testify that this is how the world did respond to my warning, and has responded to my warning. Here we are in 2016. I still see women that are shocked when I bring this up. Like, really? You don't see how obvious this is? And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm struggling being in this physical body with these perceptions, because to me, this is obvious that this is something that's being planned for a lot of people in a particular geographic area in a certain number of years, coming up during the next solar cycle or after that. A situation where the infrastructure, 911 is not functioning, the grid is not functioning. It could be as a result of an EMP, it could be the result of a solar flare. I'm not saying that this is the end of the world. I'm saying that if we immediately go into a situation to where we don't have the things that we normally rely on, you would see people go into prostitution, you would see people go into human trafficking, and it seems that, and I'm trying to be calm in this podcast, that they have been socially engineering in an artificial way the society to be hypersexualized. And as I stated earlier, to associate sexuality or sharing one's sexuality with the receiving of money. And that is bringing society back to a prostitution mentality to where it's mainstream, to where most women look at men the same way in a world of the illusion of scarce resources. People base their dating choices based on certain ways of perceiving their partner's economic status. Now, aspects of our society are going to evolve. Aspects of women, aspects of men, aspects of our society are going to evolve in the years ahead as more people wake up to the trap of materialism. Now, there's balance, of course. You may need to have certain material things to survive. There's things that you need, there's things that you want, and there's the wisdom that knows the difference. I've also prophesized, and I won't be shy about using that word, that if we go into a period where the grid is out, you would see the return of romance, you would see the return of a male-female balance in some circumstances, because some people would naturally fall into what they really, really want, and they would have to do it out of survival. And in the end, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But also out of survival, you would see people going back to primitive uses of their sexuality, or someone else's sexuality. Primitive use of sexuality, A, being a prostitute for the physical protection. You would also see many men and others taking advantage of men and perhaps women, or women and perhaps men, I meant to say. Groups that are actually taking advantage of men sexually in a grid down situation. And there's going to be many people that are going to be would-be slave masters when things collapse and they have resources and they have food. And they're going to be thinking, well, what can I get from you? How can I get the pants off you? And you need to also be warned about these people from Alex Yancey, who is like a caring big brother to you. Because there are people out there that think like this. Oh, I'm going to have my own intentional community and people are literally going to serve me and I'm going to get what's mine. And you need to know if there are souls in human bodies that are operating from that survival perspective. Not I'm going to help other people, but I'm going to take advantage of people or women or men once I have something that they don't. I have land, I have protection. I can use this. So when it comes to survival, we need to be mindful with regards to people, places, and things, that they be positive, that the people around us be loving, that the people around us not be the type that would, in a worse situation, sell us or hurt others. And most of all, and I don't think very many of you that there's a whole lot of hesitation or question, but people should know that they themselves can't be trusted, that they can trust themselves, that others can trust them. For their heart to be a heart of gold and not to be a heart that covets plots and agendas, that if they were to be in a situation that they would hurt this person or rape this person. And I will tell you with all honesty, there's some men and women that do. And when I say men and women, I'm talking there are women that traffic other women in these situations when it comes down to survival. And this is just the fact of the dark fallen world that you and I both incarnated into. Get a helmet. You're going to need it. So first you need to get right with what's really going on in this matrix and the type of souls that are running around here. And you need to understand that the pornography mind control, the violent video game mind control, the World War III mind control, the race baiting mind control, there's going to be some very dangerous, widespread situations unfolding in the initial years when we go into whatever we're going into, be it the result of the initial phases of World War III or a solar event. But I often think of the solar event or a extended grid down situation, but after a period of months or years, that society will bounce back from that situation and the chaos that unfolds, and that good people will find each other. And even though it will be a society without a military and police, you would have strong communities that are protecting each other from outside threats. Independent communities, mind you, that are rebuilding and not centralized to a massive grid. Communities that have their own power. Communities that have their own fruits and vegetables. Communities that have their own strong protectors and female nurturers as well. But women could also take part in the protecting, in the self-defense, as I believe women are also capable of very profound skills in the martial arts, which is a very beautiful thing. And we're talking true, genuine martial arts. Oh yeah, you would see people using their hands and their feet again in the future because they would have to need to use their hands and their feet. And there's only so much ammunition to go around. And as a result, you would have a healthier population. You'd also have a healthier population if you don't have people doing drugs all day, smoking crack all day, drinking alcohol all day, smoking weed all day even. You know, if we were to return to a natural state of healthy fruits and vegetables and things that are natural of the earth, and not spending all day mating with our technological devices and our tablets, but in many cases, and I'm not religious, that people actually loving each other for real in a way that we haven't seen for many, many generations or perhaps lifetimes. You see, there's some chaos coming, and on the other side of this chaos, there are potential realities. I'm not guaranteeing you anything. I'm letting you know that I see something other than just absolute mayhem. Okay. And it's only going to come through something very spiritual, something very organic. It can happen to you. A miracle can happen to you while the world is on fire. If you do the work that is necessary to meet those people, places, and things that will be your allies. And so how do you walk over the fire with no fear? You engage in the actions and the truest of true faith in the truest creator of all that is. And you seek to help people to the best of your ability while you can in the here and now. That is how we live in the moment. That is how we preserve ourselves, our mind, body, and spirit. We preserve ourselves. And by helping others, we help ourselves. See, these are blueprints to walking into whatever is going on. There could be women hearing the sound of my voice that know in their heart they may have hurt someone or engaged in some form of immorality that is taken or stolen from somewhere else or something else. And they can take a real close look at what's going on in the world that they live in and the city that they live in and the risks that their city face. And they should really ask themselves, is God or the Creator going to intervene in their life when there is danger around the corner? And that is ultimately the question that a lot of people in our society need to ask themselves, including returning soldiers that have served in Afghanistan, that have served in Iraq, that have bombed Syria. They need to ask themselves if God is actually going to intervene in their lives and their neighborhood and their community when danger comes a-knocking. Because this is not the time to lie to yourself the way that some pastors lie to their flock as they demand their 10% after their co-opted spiritual religious rant, as they pretend to serve the Lord, as they pretend to serve the true Creator. People are going to have to ask themselves what it is about their lives, their actions, that's going to warrant such protection. Is it really just having faith in Jesus Christ? Is it really just having faith in Allah? Is it really just having faith in certain things? Or is it the actual action of caring for others, of actually showing your faith in Allah or in God or in the Creator? By what? Not being silent about the victims of war. How are my relatives on my father's side truly people of faith in a Creator if they literally migrate to the land of Babylon decades ago to maintain their silence of what the U.S. is doing just simply because of what Russia is doing? They should ask God for the enlightenment to show them the evil and darkness that actually connects the United States to the nation of Russia. They should ask for that guidance from the Creator and seek a more direct understanding of the Creator instead of just simply following a book and thinking that having faith is praying 5 times a day. Why not ask the Creator to show you why the Middle East has been tortured for so long, or the Middle Eastern people, what this new world order is all about, these ties between the United States and Russia on one level. Silence is for those without faith. Silence is for those that live in fear. There is no point any longer, now that we have reached this stage of corruption in our society, for there to be any silence any longer. There should be full faith in the Creator, because ultimately that is in the spirit of that in which I walk in and others walk in, to serve the Creator while we are in the body, because we know what we were cast down into the body, again, for a specific reason. There's no accident why we're here. Some may say that the world is a matrix, that the world is illusion, and they have forgotten to ask why they are in the artificial construct, whether it be again or for the first time. Because that is where the truth begins, even if you don't receive the answer immediately. What are you doing here? I see people out there that have been distracted from doing good deeds because of their power that they have to do good deeds and reverse some of this damage. So they encourage people to think only about themselves. They encourage people to monetize the sexuality without realizing the dangers that come from a society that monetizes it to a point And then with the people not even knowing what's coming along next, a society dependent on money, the economy destroyed, and all the stages are literally set in a society that's been convinced do as thou wilt, sexualize the female, the women themselves, most of them not speaking out about what's going on, but going along with the program, and then of course viewing men a certain way based on the amount of money that they have, thus making themselves a de facto modern prostitute. So the combination of all this foul, monetized sexual energy with an economic collapse leads to human trafficking, only enabled by a reality where you divide the man and the woman. We are no longer a tribe. It's not a community where people know each other of brothers, sisters, and it's random men and women that are tax slaves, living in major, what I also call energy harvesting centers, major urban environments, under this surveillance society where other forces of evil use that surveillance society to observe the human creatures in the petri dish that they are controlling and manipulating in this matrix, in this virtual world. We are not alone here, and there's something else pulling the strings and directing us towards this world war that has a very strong interest in human genetics, and I would even say hybrids, and new forms of life. Yeah, of course, as we see the New Age movement contaminated with the false channeling and the promises of the DNA upgrade. And of course, the balance, the collective shift in consciousness. Oh, we've seen some collective shifts in consciousness. And it's called the zombie apocalypse. There ought to be an internal, like air raid warning system within you. Anytime anyone around you starts calling this world evolved and conscious, and other world leaders as leaders here to bring balance. Oh yes, balance. Yes, let's kill millions more in the Middle East. Just call them ISIS and just drop the bombs. Don't ask questions. They're bringing balance. Yes, they're bringing balance. I'll tell you what, I'm going to wrap things up here. Something somehow has created a soul entrapment game. And they've done it to many, many men, but there's specific ways in which they do it to women. If they want something, little piggy, let me in. Open the door. Engage in certain actions, words, deeds, or thoughts that could enable the cracking of your own protective aura, that could allow evil to connect with you and get what they want, be it genetic information, be it something else, but it often comes through the sexual assault experience. And like this world sometimes is one big giant rape itself. Certainly psychologically. Certainly in some cases people have been spiritually raped. But the physical is something that is a means to an end to create new forms of life that they can control more easily in future generations than the current forms of life that are here now. So the whole attempt to penetrate the protective aura, the whole attempt to penetrate even the Earth's magnetic field that keeps out forces of danger, is a means to an end to re-terraform the new forms of life on this planet, and also to create pain and other forms of lower dense emotions so that they can sustain themselves. The evil of this world, which some people believe is being slowly phased out, so they're turning up the heat. But because I'm not convinced they're being phased out, I'll let you know that's just simply one of the perspectives going on as to why they're turning up the heat. I tend to see it more as a period in which there's an energy harvesting, and there are periods where it's cyclical, to where they get more bang for their buck. Periods in which they're interested in causing the most pain and harm because of the forces of darkness that feed on the energy that is literally excreted or released from those experiences. And I see some sort of a major lower dark side energy harvesting in the 2020s. And so when I talk about the world war and this entrapment and sexual slavery, it's like there is some sort of a portal of evil that they want to open through these physical actions in the physical world. And of course, as I've spoken before, the real alien invasion is the mind parasite invasion infection inside human society. to take up arms and bomb and destroy other human beings. Men and women killing other men and women. This is how it's done. This is how the invasion is showing itself. It's within the collective psyche. It is the collective shift in consciousness. This is why the New Agers told you it'd be a good thing. They didn't warn you about what's happening now, nor do they have anything to say now about world events. They just sit there silent, if they're even listening at all. Because the world you and I live in today is no sign of a collective shift in consciousness. Now you know why they kept talking about a galactic federation of light, the Great White Brotherhood. As we see literally a genocide of the brown world. Where was the Galactic Federation of Light, or where is the Galactic Federation of Light and the so-called channeled spiritual messages showing their love and light towards these Semitic bloodlines of the world? The silence itself should alarm some of you white women in America that are tapped into some of these streams. But I don't believe that many of you are. So I'm speaking hypothetically to the non-listeners, because you know there are millions of people that are tapped into that disinformation. How can we help them? Because those archons behind that fake channeled information, as far as I'm concerned, they are setting up and targeting and even marking the souls of their followers. And they are setting them up for something that the people may believe is a DNA upgrade, that the people may believe is being rescued by these so-called benevolent beings. But I think that these so-called benevolent beings really have an interest in these human females and aspects of their anatomy for a specific reason. I also think, and I've said for years, that in the last days of this cycle, many men will be deceived as well. So this is also a period for men that are actually on the path to think twice about some of the people that they jump into bed with. Because there's ways that men can be targeted. There's ways that I was targeted a few years ago. All of a sudden, all these people start showing up. They want to get it on. It's like, wait a minute, none of you actually seem to have a full soul, loving you, like a real kid. It's almost as if you're here for energy or to get some sort of a readout. As crazy as that sounds, this world that we live in is certainly very, very different. I really could talk for hours. I would tell some of the people listening to research Eve Lorgen and the Love Bite and listen to her lectures and just get a handle on the overview of what she's trying to explain. The idea of people being under mind control, men and women, to not be with the right people and to be with the wrong people. And you combine kind of what she's saying with what I'm saying, you might understand that some people have been put into a spell to not only be in the wrong relationships, but to be in the wrong cities, where they're actually in danger because they're under a spell that they need to be there because they've been led into danger. And I think that there's a certain amount of women that have been led into danger by moving to Portland and being told that they need to stay in Portland for the coming changes. I also understand that some people feel they've been led to New York City, and some people feel they've been led to Florida. Some people feel they've been led. So there seems to be a mass movement of humans that seems to be congregating in certain areas. And the New Age movement's going to say, well, this is all about the love and light and people coming together and ascending in one place because this is what the aliens want. That actually makes things very, very suspicious because people shouldn't actually have to be physically in one particular spot. And why do people need to go up to a spacecraft to have a shift in consciousness? Why aren't we working to have an individual shift in consciousness spread out throughout the planet? Let go of some of these belief systems about the ley lines and blah, 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 that you need to be there and that. It's very suspicious, and it's only adding more credibility in my eyes, the idea that people's energies are being harvested. Bring this back full circle. There's a fair amount of energy harvested and manipulated and used through the sexual assault experience. And so if they're trying to direct people with a fair amount of negative karma into certain dangerous areas, like Portland, Oregon, in the years ahead, it seems to be for a reason. And it seems to be coldly calculated. And it seems to be based on an advanced form of soul surveillance. So this is definitely coming from the dark occupying spirits of evil that are operating way beyond the levels of government, which few humans are even thinking about. And so they're prepping America for something. They're entrapping the souls. They're telling great numbers of women to stay in certain areas that are going to be target zones. They've removed the protective male from their lives in many cases. They've created the cell phone addiction, and the cell phones will be used as surveillance even when the grid goes down. So they'll be able to locate the bloodlines that are marked. Bloodlines marked specifically for their procreative abilities. Because as I've always felt intuitively in the depths of my soul, the current human female, for lack of a better word, what it is as a biological entity, not to take away from the spirit or soul, but as simply a biological unit, is actually capable of bringing forward and even channeling through various forms of life onto the planet. And there seems to be a very strong agenda to create a new form of life on the planet that is more easily controlled. And as long as we are in the physical realm, the ways those bodies are brought through, other than cloning, is through the sexual experience. And there are voluntary and involuntary ways of the sexual experience, the procreative experience, coming into manifestation and being. And so we keep coming back to, they are leading humans to evil right now, especially with the genocide programming and the thinking of hateful thoughts and the kill them all, in order to entrap those humans so danger will come unto them. And it is out of love that I'm spending this time and these years that are leading to this event in an attempt to reach those that are involved in the hateful thoughts. They're involved in entrapping their own soul, that they have been led into danger. Danger is coming. It is time to repent of their ways. And I say that outside the box of religion, but what that means. If you turn towards good, if you seek to be in opposition to the machine of death that is eradicating millions off this planet, you may have a chance. You may find yourselves protected by your angels. For those that are continuing to go down a certain road, and for those that have already dug their own grave, I don't see a hand of protection around them when these events and when the occupation begins to unfold. So I'm going to come back down to this issue. If there is another man or woman on this planet of 7 billion people telling their listeners something similar to what I'm saying, let me know who that is down in the comment section. If you cannot let me know down in the comment section, I would appreciate if you understand the importance of my podcast and my warnings in a planet of 7 billion. If I am the only one that sees this coming, I ask that you contemplate actually supporting this program on a regular basis, because I will face any consequence that the dark side throws at me, because they are not the ones that are ultimately in control of everything. I'm seeking to serve a greater good, to evolve beyond this type of a slave soul prison planet. I also believe good comes to those that are assisting me in this process as well. So I am signing off now. And we should all contemplate how we can be the very best people that we can be in the times that we have left here. And to hold that state of prayer and humble request for protection. All of us. Because there are dark days coming. It is November 27th in this Earth year of 2016.